it's T, and welcome to Trailblazer Talk with T. Westbrook. I'm sitting down with the founder of Creative Girls Rock, Charmin. Today we're going to discuss her trailblazing journey from retail buying to building a nonprofit organization. Watch this. So, can you tell me a little bit about how living in Joliet shaped who you are today?
Joliet is a small suburb or a small town, suburb of Chicago, about, I'll say it's like a 25, 30-minute drive from the city.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those towns where like pretty much everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every city has its bad part, but when I tell you like everybody knows everyone in Joliet because it's so small, we look out for each other. And that meant a lot for me, just to, I mean, I'm a firm believer of the word, so love thy neighbor, as you love yourself. So it's kind of like that's what was instilled in me, and that's kind of what I had growing up.
What made you decide to go to Tennessee State or choose an HBCU?
So the HBCU kind of came in. My brother graduated from Tuskegee University in Alabama. Okay. And I would go to like their homecomings and like just seeing all those Black people, intelligent, like it was something about that. And I was like, I want to go somewhere like this. I didn't want to go to Tuskegee, but I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU. And I really didn't know anything about Tennessee State. We just said we wanted to move to Tennessee, whether it was, UT or Tennessee State or wherever it was in Tennessee. We just said, me and my best friend said we were going to go. So my first choice was actually Georgia Tech. And because I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and so they have the best chemical engineering program in the country. So I had applied there. I did apply to Spelman, but after I went to visit it, I didn't feel it. Like, I just didn't feel it. There's nothing wrong with Spelman, but it's just like, no, that's not it. And then I did a tour at University of Alabama. So UA, I'm a huge Roll Tide fan. My mother's side, so my dad is from Chicago. My mom is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Okay. So everybody Roll Tide, and Alabama this and that. And so I said, okay, let me try University of Alabama. During that college tour, I seen there was a Confederate flag in a dormitory window. And my mom at the time, she was like, I had to go through this. You have an option not to. So I'm just telling you everything that I went through. And as you can see, I mean, racism, it takes place every day. It's still some people that has that mindset. And so she was like, I don't want this for you. And then, which is true, it's like, I don't want to go through that. And then I went to Tennessee State campus. It was me and my mom, and his name was Gerald. I don't know where he is now or his last name, but he was like over student admissions or something like that. Anyway, we did a tour, and I just fell in love with the campus. Fell in love, and I was like, Mama, this is it. I'll never forget when I got that letter, my acceptance letter. I was standing in the kitchen, and it was like, we would like to inform you, we have accepted you, to Tennessee State University. So I know you wouldn't ask me about chemical engineering. So my dad, he retired from Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. So Pfizer like owns like Listerine, all of that stuff and chemicals, stuff like that. And so I wanted to work for the government, and I was just fascinated how you can have like a little atom and it can like blow up an entire neighborhood. Like, what is in that? What chemical is in that can do that? And so that was just fascinating to me at the time. And I was like, I think I want to do something like that. But it wasn't, what my freshman and sophomore year, Tennessee State didn't have chemical engineering. So I was mechanical engineering and a minor in chemistry. And then I was going to transfer to Vanderbilt, who does have chemical engineering, my junior year. And it wasn't it. And I was just like, I'm really big on fashion. So my sophomore year, I was like, am I going to continue this, doing something that I know, this may not be for me, or do I want to follow my passion? And I switched my major to fashion merchandising and a minor in business administration. And I went off and started my fashion career after graduation and worked in New York for Macy's, which kind of was a full circle because chemical engineers also work in fashion for color. There's literally like 900 shades of red, literally, probably more than that. There's a chemical engineer that figures that out.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, so technically I didn't do a whole 360, you know what I'm saying? I could have, been an engineer for that,
So before we get into your career, I wanted to ask, like, what was your favorite experience at TSU? Or, is there one thing that you can remember from attending TSU that kind of stuck with you today?
Oh man. Yes, I can actually answer both of those questions. So I'll go with something I remember to this day. So when President Barack Obama was
My president is Black.
that,
Remember that?
and Jeezy had just dropped that album, bruh. Like,
You was outside too. You was on the courtyard too.
yes. So that day, I remember I was over, I think I was over my Neo's apartment, and Florida, we were waiting on Florida. We always wait on Florida, right? And girl, we couldn't even they couldn't even get it out. And everybody that were in the new apartments ran out of their apartment. And we were crunk on the over there at the new apartments. And then we started walking, and then there was so many of us, we said we're gonna walk down to Fisk.
Yes.
So we shut down Jefferson. Police couldn't do nothing because there was so many of us.
Yes, girl, I was there. There.
And we walked down, and I remember Patrick Walker Reese and Patrick Calvin gave a speech. And because at the time, I think Patrick was getting ready to run for SGA president.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had been on SGA all 4 years. So I'll never forget that. And then all you heard, because it was people walking, it was people in cars, my president is Black. That was it. I think Jeezy alone, he was probably a billionaire just off that song.
Yeah.
Because they play, and they still play to this day, and people think about Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That's probably my most memorable moment on campus. Being on SGA, where we get to travel to the different schools, that was great. Me pledging, I wouldn't trade my sorority sisters in for the world. So that's a lifetime sisterhood. So I love that, and how we were on the yard and the courtyard Wednesdays, and we could stroll and all of that.
Yeah.
Those are some good memories. Yeah. And I want my kids to have that experience, and you won't have that, you will only have that at a HBCU. Period.
Now let's move towards your career a little bit. So you mentioned Macy's a little bit earlier. How did you end up there? How did you end up in New York at Macy's?
So I applied, again, fashion merchandising and minor in business administration. And so Macy's, I think they still have this. They have a 10-week executive program where they teach you the ins and outs of retail buying. And then after you go through that program, depending on your participation during the program, and it's a paid program, you will secure a position in one of the labels at Macy's to work as a retail buyer. So assistant retail buyer. So with that being said, that was a process. I actually kind of wrote a book about that. So my senior year of college, I had an opportunity to attend Yale University. They have a pre-MBA program, which basically they pick only 40 students across the country to participate in this pre-MBA program, which I took every course a first-year MBA student would take in 2 weeks. Exactly. We were in class.
Hey, what now?
I took every course a first-year MBA student would take first year. I took it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of work. And so, and again, it's the Yale pre-MBA program. I can send you a link. I think they're still doing it, but we were the first class, the inaugural class. And it was 40 of us. And it's for minority students. And so it was people from, you know, I was a representative from TSU, and then we had North Carolina A&T, we had Spelman, we had Morehouse. So that was a really dope time. And so I had never been to New Haven, Connecticut. So it was just an experience. And I was first denied to that program. And then I don't know what happened. I mean, God's favor. 2 weeks later, they called me and they were like, you know, hi, are you still interested in the program? And I was like, but I received a letter that I didn't get in. They're like, what letter? Say less. Say less. They paid for my trip to get there, my housing, I received a stipend. So that led me to, at that time, I had already applied to Macy's, and someone told me that it was only an hour train ride between New Haven, Connecticut and New York. And they was like, you should take a trip up to New York just to check the status of your resume, like, or your application, because like I would email, never heard anything back. I was just following up with HR, like, hey, you know, I graduate December 2009. Yeah, I graduate in December, really would like to secure a position, yada, yada, yada. No response. So I did exactly what my mentor told me. I took the train ride up to Macy's, and I didn't know how to get there. Like, I just like asked people, how do I get to Macy's? I walked from the train station in heels and a suit all the way to Macy's, which is on 7th Avenue and 34th Street. And the train station is in East New York. So it's like maybe 2nd or 1st Avenue. So that's how many, and it's some long blocks in New York. Your husband can tell you that. But all that to say is, like, I went up there, I like snuck in HR because it's a secure door. Somebody came out and I walked in. And they were like, ma'am, can we help you? I'm Charmin Bates from Cincinnati State University. Here's my resume. I'm just checking the status of my application. And they're kind of like, how'd you get in here? Do you have an interview? No, I don't. I'm checking the status of my application. And then they kind of kindly escorted me out. And it was like, somebody would be downstairs to talk to you shortly. So I waited and waited. Somebody came downstairs and they were like, hi, you know, who are you? I'm Charmin Bates. I applied for this position. I'm really interested in fashion, you know, being a retail buyer. This is why. I'm from Joliet, go to TSU. And she was like, Charmin, I know that name. My boss has been forwarding me your emails and I've been meaning to follow up with you. So remember I told you I kept emailing someone to let them know status. Well, she was forwarding to the person that's under her, and that person never followed up with me. And so now here I am. What's up? Can I have an on-site interview?
What's up?
So, and I did get an on-site interview, but I think they were more impressed how determined and ambitious I was to get this position, because I was like, I ain't come up here to play with y'all. I told you I want this job. I don't know anything about New York, and I just took the train from New Haven, Connecticut to come here. So the least you can do is interview me. And so that's how I really got in.
So that brings me to just the thought about, how did you transition from New York? You know, like, what made you want to pack up all of your things and leave New York and come back to Nashville?
It was something that, I mean, I had did the fashion thing. When I was in New York, I didn't see my family a lot. It was just too expensive, and I worked very long hours. So it was one Christmas where I didn't spend, you know, Christmas with my family. And that was the worst feeling in the world. And I was like, I don't ever want to be in a career, because I had to be at work the next day. I don't ever want to have a career where it takes away from my family, because I'm so family oriented. So after that experience, I was like, okay, let me start to looking for positions that will get me closer to home. Because New York is like 16-hour drive or 20-hour drive versus Nashville and Chicago, you know, that's like 6 or 7. Right. So although I didn't move back home, I'm still a little bit closer to my family and can be with my family, you know, more. And so that was one thing where I was like, okay, I want to move closer back home. I love Tennessee. I love my experience when I was at state. A lot of my line sisters or my sorority sisters are still in Nashville. So I think I want to go there again, build something. And then if it doesn't work out, I can go somewhere else. I mean, I'm not tied to anything. So I moved back here in 2014. So I've been back for 6 years now. And I was called to do some community work. So when I moved back, I was a AmeriCorps Vista. I had signed up for that, and I was working at TSU in the service learning department to help create programs for post-secondary education. So I was working with Pearl Cone High School students to prepare them for college, so ACT prep, how to write an essay, how to apply for college, and all of that. And so I was doing that, and then still heavily involved in the community, Boys and Girls Club. I worked with them, YMCA, worked with them for 3.5 years. And then later, now I'm at Vanderbilt, but I wanted to get more into like community engagement, nonprofit management. And then I got my master's at Trevecca in 2016 in organizational leadership and nonprofit management. And I knew that was kind of the direction I wanted to go, and eventually start my own nonprofit. But it was just like, I felt like it just feels good. You know, when I transitioned from New York back to Nashville, it was a very, very hard transition financially, because I went from making X amount of dollars to like none at all. Okay. And then it was in New York. I had a certain lifestyle. I mean, I worked in fashion. We were always going out to eat, you know, having vendor meetings, happy hours and stuff. So it was a certain standard I had set for myself because I was bringing in so much income. And then when I moved back here, AmeriCorps Vista, they pay you monthly and they give you stipends. And the highest you can get is $900 for a month. Yes. I took a huge financial sacrifice. And when I say it was nobody but God to get me, you know, back to where I am now, but like that was a process. It was a very humbling experience. It was like, okay, if this is what you called me to do, you're gonna make a way. I moved in with my line sister, and I stayed with her for a little while to save up some money to get my own spot. Got my own spot, and I was working at the YMCA. And then from there, I was like, okay, bigger. So I went to Vanderbilt. Applied for the event planner position for the chancellor, so the president at Vanderbilt, and I got the position. So it was just like ever since I've been back, God is definitely just higher, higher, and higher. And I mean, the sky's the limit, unlimited possibilities.
Right.
Never limit yourself. That goes back to the universal architect. Never limit yourself to just, cool girls create. Man, you can have a whole enterprise, you know what I'm saying? Like, you speak that thing to existence and you work for it. Yeah, it's so much. I mean, you're so talented and everybody else is too. It's just like, use your full potential. God has already instilled within us everything we need to reach our goals.
Right.
It's relationships, different networking, opportunities, different experience that helps mold us and bring that out of us. Because we already have it, but we might need to clean it up a little bit, your public speaking, or clean up, maybe how you dress and certain things. And that's fine, because you're elevating yourself. And when you have to play the role, like you have to be the part as you continue to grow higher and higher, whatever that looks like. Still be yourself, but there should be a certain, like you're ever evolving. So you should always want to continue to enhance your personal and professional development.
Right. That brings me to Creative Girls Rock, and talking about purpose, talking about community, talking about, making an impact. What was it specifically that made you want to start Creative Girls Rock?
So I've always been like hands-on with like arts and crafts. My dad, like all my doll houses when I was little, we built them. Well, my daddy built them. And then I love that. And then I was big on fashion, so I would play dress up. It was just, I was always been this creative, always been. And so like everything in my home, and I'll show you, I refurbished like my coffee table. So you can look at, This was like $10 at a Goodwill.
Uh-huh.
And definitely didn't look like this, but I like wood stain this. Sorry, like it's not clean right now, but I would stain this with like an oak, and then I made it white, and then I got this little thing that I made it to match, and like it was like everything came from Goodwill for like under $2. So that's just a little bit of the some of the things that I've done. I have so much stuff in the house, even like these wine bottles from my events that
I love it.
Save them to make centerpieces, and so I have like 3 of those on my table, so people will come over and they'll be like, Charmin, like you're so talented, you should teach women how to do this. Like I'm like, all I'm doing is taking Elmer's glue and yarn, watching TV, and just rapping, literally. Right. But like, who thinks like that? Like, who would think like, oh, I'm just gonna throw that wine bottle away? Who thinks like, oh, I can save that and make a centerpiece? Or I can, And I was like, no, I just watch videos and stuff. And it was like, you sent on a gift. And from there, I was like, well, okay, I'll try something. And I was like, well, what am I going to call it?
Bring your camera down a little bit more.
There you go.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the shirt. Can I see the shirt? Yeah. Okay.
Creative Girls Rock. I do sell, well, I cut this being creative, but I do have shirts for sale for $20. Size is small to 2X. But yeah, so yeah, this is my logo. I created that. Also, like when I came up with the name Creative Girls Rock, it kind of was inspired from Black Girls Rock. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to see, let me move back so you can kind of see it.
Yeah.
There you go. It was inspired from Black Girls Rock, but I was like, okay, that's cool. Let me try Creative Girls Rock. Let me just see if it flows. And so I'm big on, like, Oprah's like my virtual mentor. And she talked about everything that she has, she owns. Like, she owns the name of it. And, like, if you want it, you can have it. And so I like researched. I went to the United States Patent and Trademark Office to see if anyone had trademarked Creative Girls Rock, and it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I jumped on there because I was like, if this is going to be my brand, I'm going to own the name. And so I educated myself to go through that process. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, the application process. I paid the fees or whatnot, and I am the owner of Creative Girls Rock. So during that process, because that's a 6 to 9 month process, I was working on my website. I have no web design experience whatsoever. But somebody told me about Squarespace and some other platforms. So I was like, okay, let me look at some templates. And I just started playing around. So my website, creativegirlsrock.org, everything on there, I did.
I love your website. I love your website. Like, girl, this is like,
I couldn't
talk about trailblazing. Like, it's just for me, like the same. Like I've had to learn all of these things, from picking up like a camera to building websites, and it's like I never really met another girl who's into the same things and who's like, I'm just gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody can do it better than you because you know what you want. And if you have like the grit, the know-how, we have our minds, like you're capable of anything. So
exactly. And Creative Girls Rock, I mean, it is about, our mission is to educate and empower women to utilize their creative talents in unique ways. So whatever that is, it could be how you dress, it could be fashion, it can be visual arts, it can be arts and crafts. Like, we're not limited to just, yes, I showed you some arts and craft, but like how I tie my hair scarf. I did a video on that on Instagram today. Like, all of that is like creative and like, just being innovative. And so I couldn't I didn't want to promote DIY, do it yourself, if I wasn't willing to do these things myself.
Yeah.
How can I pay somebody to do my website and I don't even try?
Right.
So I did. And then I had a professional look at it and they was like, you did this? Yeah.
Yes, okay. I did.
Yes, exactly. Or my logo. I designed my logo. Like, paint. I just was playing with flowers. I found this little head on Google and start playing with flowers and start putting it on there. I did all of this in paint. And then because I don't have any apps
like
or
Adobe Spark or something like that.
Don't have any of that. And then I sent it to a graphic designer, and he was like, "Yeah, it's very pixelated. Let me redo it." And then he redid it just like I had it. And so I was able to have like a legitimate logo for screen printing and stuff like that. But yeah, I did this in paint, girl, in Word doc and cropped and colored and all of that other stuff.
I love it.
And it's a sense of fulfillment. Also, Creative Girls Rock was birthed from a place where, like I said, that transition, that financial sacrifice from New York to Nashville, like I went through. I was in a dark place, and it was just hard. It was challenging, and I knew, God was going to make a way, but it's kind of hard when you're in this situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I know He has a plan for me, but it gets tough. Be real.
So what were some of the things that kind of brought you out of that darkness?
The painting, the doing the wine bottle wrapping, like some of the arts and crafts, because seeing something from like start to finish, like I said, that sense of fulfillment, you feel good about yourself. And then I was like, okay, I was building Charmin back up. I had just got out of like a toxic relationship that I feel like sucked everything out of me. And like, I had to fall back in love with Charmin. And so doing these different projects, I was like, oh, you're talented. All these positive affirmations, like, oh, this is beautiful. And then, let me was saying this, and then I'm listening to music. So I was taking my mind off of that negative and doing stuff that was more positive, and that was kind of filling Charmin back up.
Right.
And so, and it's so crazy, like how we say, I mean, that's when at your darkest moments or your lowest moments, that's when the most creativity comes out. And we can speak about this whole pandemic right now, COVID-19.
Yeah.
Again, this is like, we can't go out, we can't do anything. People over the past 2 months have gotten extremely creative to Zoom calls, to D-Nice doing, videos, and then we're doing these battles. It was one video that I saw where a fitness instructor was outside, like in an apartment complex, like right in the center of it, and doing workouts, and people were working out from their balcony.
Oh, that's so dope.
So dope to me. Like, we had to shut down to birth some more creativity. Mm-hmm. And it's like at your lowest point, that's when you're the most creative, and that's when you're bringing in, again, not to keep bringing up God, but I'm very spiritual, but like God created the heaven and earth in darkness. He created heaven and earth in darkness. Okay, I'm saying, like, it was like at the lowest point where he made the most brilliant, earth. How many people lives here? You know what I'm saying? So it's like at your lowest, point, I just feel like, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's hard going through it. You're by yourself a lot. But you're spending time with yourself, and you're learning to fall back in love with yourself. You're, enhancing your personal development. So it's like, oh, you know what? I probably haven't been the best speaker, so let me practice speaking or something like that, which people are doing. So
do you have any specific tips on how to trailblaze your path during this time of, unforeseen circumstances? Do you have any advice for the people?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to like try new things. That would be my advice. It's like I said, we're supposed to be 6 feet apart. So if you want to go out on a date with somebody, maybe y'all just go get some food and then y'all do a Zoom call or something. I mean, it's something different, but like, don't be afraid to try new things. And maybe some of the things that have been holding you back because you were so consumed with everything else going on, when, maybe it's time now to work on that particular thing. Like, take advantage, look at the silver lining in all of this. Like, now you have more time. Now you're forced to stay at home to work on a project or to work out or whatever, to eat healthy. Like, you have no other option. So like,
don't put it off anymore. Stop putting it off.
You have no excuse. And I'm speaking to myself too. I have no excuse to continue to put it off because I'm working from home.
Right. Right. Okay. So we're gonna bring this to a close, but I really wanted to talk to you about the CVR charity sneaker ball. I
Yeah.
was able to attend just from like wanting to help out, and it was like a very, I mean, it was just like a great experience. All of like, the creative people in the room. We had a lot of Black people in the room. It was a good time. The decor, the vibes, the creativity. Like, I
That was
loved
a lot
it.
of work.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So what was some of the legwork that it took to get this event off the ground? Like, how long did it take you to put it together?
That's actually the fastest event I've ever done. So I came up with the idea in July, right after I did the African American NAM, African American music, the new music industry, museum downtown. I did their gala in June. And I actually have a picture that I'll send you. But after the event was over, I put on my Jordans. So I had put on my 11s or my he got games. And so people were like, "Did you have them Jordans on the whole time?" And I was like, "No." That was like, "But that's kind of dope. Your whole attire, your after hour, your black tie dress, with your sneakers." Yeah, I said, "Man, I should do a sneaker ball." So July, I just started, based on my event planning, skill set, it was just like, okay, let me look at a venue. Okay, well, I found a venue. So I need somebody to design a flyer. Let me get a team together. So it was like, it took me 3 months to put this event together. I don't know how I did it. Even with we collected over 4,000 pair of shoes to donate to Soul for Souls. Like I did a lot of stuff. Setting up the kick captains to collect shoes. It was a lot of work. But you said, what is the leg work? Really, it's organization. And so me having the event planning background, I knew what to do. I knew I had to secure a venue. I didn't have a budget for this event at all. It started off with $100 of my money. And then I reached out to companies for sponsorships. Like, okay, this is Creative Girls Rock. This is what we do. This is what we want to do. We need the funding to do this. Here's our first fundraiser to help us raise money to continue to provide after school program or just programming in general for young girls through adulthood. And, a lot of companies believed in the vision. It was like, yeah, we'll support you. Here's the check. And I got a lot of those checks to bring on this event. And I had some vendors who were like, yeah, let me just sponsor all your linen or your backdrop. No, just tell me your colors and I'll set it up.
Okay.
So like, it was really divine orchestrating. God like brought people like yourself, was like, hey, what you're doing is dope. How can I help? Hey, I need someone to do some marketing and some promotion for me. Can you help me that way? Like, it was a lot of people like yourself that came to me that was like, we want to help with that. And by the grace of God, it was a success. I am doing it again this year. So save the date. It's coming out very shortly. Very shortly, November 7th.
November 7th.
November 7th. And so that save the date will drop soon, but hey, the date is there. So unless we're still in this pandemic,
you might be walking around with the mask on with our little black tie outfit.
That's the thought. hey, don't send me. But so I'm gonna say, if God's will, November 7th, and so more details will come about that. But it's something that I wanted to be like a community thing where we're giving back to multiple charities, not just Creative Girls Rock, but we're maybe highlighting a particular another nonprofit that is doing that aligns with our initiatives. So our initiatives is women empowerment, youth development, mental health and wellness, and creative arts. So it'd be nice to give like some type of little small grant to a company that is focusing on mental health. And like, from the sneaker ball, here's X amount of dollars to continue your programming as well. So that's eventually what I wanted to get to. It's not all about Creative Girls Rock, but how can Creative Girls Rock support other organizations?
Right.
Okay. So that's why I want it to be bigger over time, the sneaker ball. But
Yes.
excited. I can't wait to drop to save the date. And you guys are hearing it first, so consider yourself special. But yep, November 7th, still trying to finalize some things. And again, trying to weigh out how this is going to happen with this whole pandemic thing. You know, I don't know. So prayerfully, it'll happen.
Everything is gonna work out, and I'm excited for it. And I thank you for coming on to Trailblazer Talk with T. Westbrook. It was a great conversation, and I am just inspired by like your journey, and I know that my audience is gonna be inspired as well. So I appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I mean, what you're doing is awesome. I love your energy. I love your creativity, your innovation, and your boldness. Honey, you fierce. And so I love that. And I say that because it's inspiring. And so continue to walk in your passion. And like I said, don't be afraid to step out there. Your purpose, exactly. Don't be afraid to step out. I mean, I'm the type of person, like, who's gonna tell me no?